The Zelda franchise had a pretty big 2023 with the release of Tears of the Kingdom, plus we also had that announcement of the Zelda movie coming sometime in the future. But 2023, that is in the past, and now it's 2024, and that means we are one step closer to the next Zelda release from Nintendo, whether that's something new, a remake or a remaster, or it could be something else. Well, today I want to have a look ahead and ask the question, what do we want from the Zelda franchise in 2024? But I couldn't do this alone, so I called upon my fellow Zelda YouTube creators to answer that very question, plus a whole bunch of more questions as well about our hopes and our dreams for The Legend of Zelda in 2024. Well, before I dive into the questions, I want to thank everybody for getting involved. So I've got 11 other Zelda creators featured here today, and you can find all of their YouTube links in the description below. So I recommend that you check them out. They each provide their own unique spin on the Zelda franchise, and they've got great hopes and great dreams for Zelda in 2024. So big thank you to The Bread Pirate, CM30 from Gaming Reinvented. We've got Linked Wolf, Suishi, Gabora, Kurtomatic, Blythe, Blubber, Kokiri Theory Game Essays, and last but not least, Hyrule Town. So what I'm going to do is pose a question, and then I'm going to let everyone give me their thoughts. So without further delay, let's get into those questions about what we want to see from Zelda in 2024. Okay, first of all, what do you think we're going to see from the Zelda franchise in 2024?
Hey there, my name is Bread Pirate. I make fact videos on the Legend of Zelda series, sometimes dealing with history, other times dealing with just miscellaneous trivia you probably missed while you were playing the games. The first question here is, what do you think we'll see from the Zelda franchise in 2024? And this is a crazy question, right? Because who can know the heart of God? That's essentially what we're asking, because Nintendo, much like God, works in mysterious ways. You can't predict what Nintendo's gonna do. This is the company that pulls, like the Wii out of their back pocket, this game with motion controls, right? And nobody expects it. Or they're the company that makes the Nintendo Switch. It's a portable home console. Like, that's insane. So trying to predict what Nintendo's going to do in 2024 is not possible. But we can have hopes, we can have dreams, and we can try to predict a pattern that would make sense. Just know that it'll never actually happen.
Sadly, I think things on the gaming front are going to be pretty quiet for Zelda this year, but I do predict that we're going to be getting a lot of news about the upcoming Zelda movie. I think soon we're going to start hearing tidbits about casting and maybe even a trailer if we're lucky.
Honestly, I'm not sure. Based on the fact Tears of the Kingdom was in 2023, I don't really think there's going to be a new game this year, either on the Switch or its possible successor, but if it is, it's probably at a small scale. Maybe a remake, indie-made tie-in, Warriors game, etc. Something very minor to say the least.
I think that it's pretty likely that we'll see either a remake or spin-off release this year. Obviously no new mainline game since Tears literally just released, but I don't think the other two options are off the table just yet. At the same time, I don't think it's too likely that we'll see anything because I don't think we had any big releases in 2018 with Zelda exclusive releases, that is. Was Hyrule Warriors definitive 2018 or 2019? I don't remember. Maybe it was 2018. I don't remember. Somebody can correct me in the comments. I don't know.
Hey everyone, I'm Suishi. I cover anything and everything glitch related in Tears of the Kingdom, and I've been asked to share some of my thoughts and predictions for The Legend of Zelda in 2024. I really don't expect that we're going to see much, given that Tears of the Kingdom basically just came out. I expect that all we're really going to see is probably ports or remakes.
I actually think we might see a remaster of a previous Zelda game like we did in 2021 with Skyward Sword HD. And if we do get something like that in 2024, I actually think we'll hear about it pretty soon, like at a February Direct. I'm always a little surprised at how much Nintendo actually promotes these games once they're re-released, given that the games in many cases have been out for years and we know absolutely everything about them. And it's not like there's a ton of mystery left, but they'll still promote them for months. Like with Skyward Sword, it was announced in the February Direct and then it came out in July, but they promoted it that whole time, including the announcement of a new amiibo with Zelda and the Loftwing. Same thing with Wind Waker HD. I think it was announced in January and it came out like 8 or 9 months later. Twilight Princess HD, it was announced in a fall and then it came out the following March. And so I think the same thing will happen. And if a game like that is going to come out next year, it'll be really soon so they can do their normal prolonged promotional cycle.
Hello, my name is Kurtomatic, aka Kurt. I make Zelda playthrough videos on YouTube as well as the occasional tutorial. I'm a pretty casual player and have only played about 4 or 5 Zelda games, the best of which being Twilight Princess, obviously. To be completely honest, I'm not expecting a whole lot when it comes to Zelda this year. I'm hopeful that something big will happen, but I don't think it'll be the case due to the fact that Tears of the Kingdom just released less than a year ago. I expect to see rumors of the next Zelda game arise and possibly an announcement in a Nintendo Direct. And when it comes to the Zelda movie, I think we'll be getting more clear announcements with further details like the cast members and the roles they will be playing, but that's about it.
I think we will see something like a Zelda movie trailer or teaser, probably. And apart from that, I honestly got nothing. Especially because they just brought out Tears of the Kingdom. I think they're gonna lay low, probably release some games for Nintendo Switch Online. Like, I'm not even sure what Zelda games are out there currently. But they'll probably expand on that. And maybe some a spin-off game or something like that. Or something regarding Hyrule Warriors. I'm not sure. But they definitely deserve to not do that much for the main line this year.
Every Zelda fan wants a new Zelda game, but the biggest thing I think we have a small chance to see is a new 2D Zelda game. Adding to that, we'll also probably see a teaser for the Zelda movie, teaser for a new remake, and hopefully some news on a Twilight Princess and Wind Waker port. These are the main things I think we have a chance to see this year.
Hello, this is Ryan from the channel Game Essays. Coming off of Tears of the Kingdom in 2023, I think it's most likely going to be a slower year. In 2018, the year after Breath of the Wild, we really didn't see much from Zelda. So there is a good chance we don't get anything at all from Zelda, but if we do, I think it's most likely going to be a much smaller release.
Well, I hope we'll see another Zelda game, but I don't think that's very much possible for 2024, maybe for 2025. But in 2024 I think we'll see a remake for Twilight Princess and probably a remake for Ocarina of Time as well.
Well, you would think it's going to be a quiet year, given Tears of the Kingdom released last year, but given Aonuma said there's going to be no DLC for Tears, well, I imagine the Zelda team have gone straight into working on the Zelda game for the Switch too. So if we're going to be getting a new Nintendo console this year, I don't really want to be waiting 5 years for the next mainline Zelda entry. So hopefully that team got cracking on the next game and we're going to see a glimpse of that very, very soon. Okay, next question. Do you think we're going to see a Zelda remake in 2024? And if so, which one?
Now, the Zelda game that needs a remake most right now would be Zelda 1, because it's the most archaic of the games in the Zelda series, but it's one of the most important. It's such an important game for understanding why the games became the way they are and what made the original games so beautiful. I love Zelda 1, and it needs a remake. But the one that is probably more deserving of a remake is the Oracle games or A Link to the Past. A Link to the Past is honestly a fine-looking game on its own, so it doesn't need a remake. It plays really well in the modern era. And the Oracle games, they play well enough, and they just got re-released on Switch Online. So they don't need a remake either. But a remake for either of those would probably be a blast. So I'd like to see a remake of either of those two. That would be great.
I have no idea whether or not this will happen, but I'd love to see an Oracle's remake in 2024. Or Tingle's Rupee Wonderland if they're feeling really crazy.
As for a remake, it's hard to say. On the one hand, I do hear that the Wind Waker and Twilight Princess remakes have been mostly done and are just sitting around ready to be released, but I'm not sure we'll see them this year. There's a possibility we will, and there's a possibility we'll see a 2D Zelda remake instead, like say the Oracle games, Minish Cap, etc. But it probably won't be a very big deal, nor a full budget title.
I think it's pretty likely that we're going to see a remake of some kind this year. I know I'm being a little bit optimistic here, but I think that the Oracle remakes are the most likely option. While the originals are definitely more available to play now than they once were, thanks to Nintendo Switch Online, I definitely would really love to see them redone in a more modern style, like what they did with the Link's Awakening remake. It's pretty likely that they'll do the same style to show that, hey, these games are connected to Link's Awakening, so newcomers to the series might put two and two together, like, oh, the art styles are the same. That usually only happens with Zelda sequels, like with Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, or the Wind Waker and the DS games, or Ocarina and Majora's Mask, whatever. Though I'd also really like to see a Link Between Worlds ported to the Switch, because it's been about like 10 years, I think. It was 2013, right? I don't remember, but it's been like however long it's been. It's not as widely available as it once was, and I'd honestly be lying if I said that I didn't want to see it like completely overhauled with like nice HD graphics. That would be, I'd love to see that.
I do, and I have pretty good reason to believe that it's probably going to be the Minish Cap, which I would absolutely love. That's one of my favorite games in the series, and I would adore being able to play an updated version of it on modern hardware.
I personally don't think so, but man, I'd love to see if they remade an old game. Like, why can't they just remake all the old 2D games using that Link's Awakening Switch engine? If I had to pick, I'd love to see the original Legend of Zelda on the NES. I'd love to see that game remade in the Link's Awakening Switch style.
This is something that I've actually been hearing rumors about recently. Don't take this as fact, but apparently an Ocarina of Time remake is in the works as cited by some inside leaker or something. I personally am skeptical if this is going to happen, and I'm definitely doubting it because of the fact that it has already gotten a remake on the 3DS. However, apparently the next Nintendo console is going to be released this year, so I mean it could be a launch title alongside that, but besides that, I'm not fully convinced this will happen.
Ooh, I'm not sure. I'm not sure if we will see one in 2024, to be honest. Of course, Wind Waker and Twilight Princess always are high in the course, but you never know what Nintendo is up to. If they are currently remaking games, then they shall take as much time as they need to perfect this. Don't rush them.
I think everyone wants Twilight Princess and Wind Waker remakes on Switch, but it's a lower probability than Link to the Past or Minish Cap getting a remake like Link's Awakening did. So I'd say if we did get a remake of something, it would most likely be one of the 2D games.
If we're going to get any type of release, a remake is probably the best bet. If Switch 2 happens this year, I think it's possible we get either an Ocarina of Time remake or some combination of Wind Waker and Twilight Princess HD, either re-releases or maybe even ones that are enhanced from the Wii U versions.
Yeah, I think that being given that the Nintendo Switch will come out in 2024, I think it is very probable that along with its release we will get a teaser for the new Zelda game. Maybe the announcement trailer in my opinion.
Well, I would love to see a remake of Zelda 1 or Zelda 2. So while you can still go back and play these games, they're probably the games that haven't aged as well as the other classic Zelda titles. Now, Zelda 2 was my first Zelda, and I think you could probably do something very cool with a remake, especially with that combat, but a Zelda 1 remake just after we had Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, that would be very, very fitting indeed. My next question, do you think we're going to see a teaser for Zelda on Switch 2 in 2024?
If we got a teaser for the next 3D Zelda game in 2024, that would be a huge break from the normal precedent that Nintendo has given us, which is we wait a year, maybe 2, maybe 3, and then we get a teaser. With Breath of the Wild, that development cycle was a little bit weird. They did give us a glimpse into the next Zelda game much sooner than they normally did. And then, of course, there was an awkward 3-year-long break between the first announcement and the final release of the game. After that, they seem to have learned their lesson and are slowing down with the amount of info they give us before the game releases. So, could we get a teaser for Zelda in 2024? Sure we could. But it's unlikely.
Once the news about Switch 2 is announced, my guess is we're going to get a text-only teaser during a Nintendo Direct. Just a black screen saying the next Legend of Zelda game is now in development.
No, I don't think we'll see a teaser for Zelda on Switch 2. If we do see a Zelda game on said console, it'll probably either be a remake, Warriors game or some other tie-in, not a full-fledged Tears of the Kingdom sequel. That'll probably only happen in say about 2028 or so.
If the Switch 2, Switch Pro, whatever you want to call it, is revealed this year, I'm going to be honest here, it's not likely that we'll see a new Zelda game teased. It's far too soon for a new Zelda game to be teased. Remember that in 2019, that was when we got our first teaser for Tears of the Kingdom, and that was 2 whole years after Breath of the Wild's release, and it was a sequel to Breath of the Wild using a lot of the same assets. And with the Wild era being officially over, it's not likely that we're going to see a lot of reused assets for the next game in the series. It is probably likely that they will use either Breath of the Wild or Tears of the Kingdom to show off the power of the new console. I can see them showing off Tears of the Kingdom running at 4K 60 FPS, and I'm just like, I don't think that it would actually have those stats, but, you know, who knows? But 4K 60 FPS with minimal loading times just to show, hey, look at this. You thought it ran pretty well on the Switch, right? Well, look how it's running now on the new console.
It depends on what kind of teaser. We're most likely going to see teasers for ports or remasters, but I don't expect that we'll even get a word on the next mainline title. My personal pet theory looking at the release history since Twilight Princess is that the next mainline Zelda game is going to be a release title for the Switch 3 or whatever they call it, with a downgraded version releasing in tandem for the Switch 2, just like they did with TP and Breath of the Wild. So I don't think we'll be getting any teasers for a mainline game for a few years.
I don't think so. I think if either a remaster, port, or remake is announced, it will be to give the OG Switch one last boost before finally putting it to bed. That's kind of what happened with Twilight Princess HD. It released like 7 months before the Switch was announced, and I have to imagine that game had some kind of positive impact on Wii U sales. But this means we'll have to go through all this agony again, waiting for them to port to the Switch 2, and the cycle continues.
Now, I know I just said the whole thing about an OOT remake happening on this quote-unquote Switch 2, but realistically, I actually don't think that's what we're gonna see. I think that there will more likely be a teaser for the next big Zelda game, but it won't actually release until at least 2025. Like I said though, Tears of the Kingdom just came out, so the chances of a new Zelda game getting announced just a year after is very, very unlikely in my books.
I think so. Because what they already did regarding the Switch 2, like showing it various game journalists behind closed doors and showing Breath of the Wild, that is, to just, using an old game and show the graphic difference is I think it's a new approach that Nintendo hasn't done in quite a while, actually. They have been playing the family console and innovation type meta. So I think they might change and go more into like upgrading their graphics, finally accepting that they need to up their graphics a bit, just a bit, to even the playing field a bit.
If we did get a teaser related to Zelda next year, I think it'd either be a Zelda movie teaser or a teaser for a new remake. Way too soon to be showing a new 3D Zelda game. A teaser for those Twilight Princess and Wind Waker ports would be great though.
I think at best, if Switch 2 is announced this year, we'll get a tech demo type of Zelda sneak peek, akin to what we saw when the Wii U was coming out. It was a Twilight Princess looking demo. Of course, we all know that means nothing for what the Zelda game will actually be, but Zelda is one of the better games Nintendo has in their arsenal to show off the capabilities of new hardware.
Well, normally I'd say no, but given Nintendo are likely to release their next console this year, I think Nintendo might put something out early. Maybe the Zelda team have been working on the next mainline Zelda game for a while. Given the last year of Tears of the Kingdom was testing and polishing, who knows? But I'm going to go out on a limb. I'm going to say yes, we will see a teaser for the next mainline Zelda in 2024. Well, next question. Do you think we're going to see another studio take on a Zelda story in 2024? And if so, who would you like to see do it?
I don't really know game development studios well enough to say, yeah, I really want to see Bethesda take on a Zelda game, because I mean, obviously Bethesda's a random example, but I don't know game development studios well enough to say, yeah, that studio needs to make a Zelda game. But I would say that I'd love to see more of that happen. Cadence of Hyrule is a phenomenal looking game. I still really want to play it, and Age of Calamity obviously falls into that same realm. A game that was made by a side studio, and man, they just did a phenomenal job with it. I want to see more of it, but I can't speak to whether that'll happen or not.
I would personally love to see a sequel to Age of Calamity from the Hyrule Warriors developers at Omega Force. Purely because even though it wouldn't be canon, I want to see more of the Zonai era of Hyrule. Like, let me fight as Rauru in his prime. Alternatively, and I really don't think this is going to happen, but I'd love to see what an indie studio like Sabotage could do with Zelda IP. I played Sea of Stars this year and absolutely loved it, and it kind of got me thinking about what a Zelda RPG could look like.
As for another studio, well, it's hard to say. I can see a Cadence of Hyrule or Hyrule Warriors game getting made, but I'm not sure who'd make it. Presumably the same guys as the last games? It could go either way.
Spin-off. Spin-offs definitely seem pretty likely this year or next year. In the time between Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, we got Hyrule Warriors Definitive, we got Age of Calamity, and we also got Cadence of Hyrule. So that was 3 spin-off in the span of 6 years. In all honesty, personally, I would really, really like to see an Age of Calamity sequel set in that timeline where we get to see the events after Hyrule has been saved from Calamity Ganon, after the events of the Calamity, where we could play as Rauru, Miniru, Ganondorf, Tulin, the other sages, and the champions, since they are alive in that timeline. I'd also really like to see how they could use Link's abilities like Ultra Hand and Recall in combat scenarios like they did with the Sheikah runes. And I'd also really just like to play as Revali again, because I love Revali, and seeing him and Tulin interact again, because that cutscene in Age of Calamity was adorable.
Honestly, I don't think so. I don't see Nintendo taking the risk with letting somebody else potentially hurt the IP leading up to the movie. But if I could choose, I'd be really interested to see what Square Enix would do with a Zelda game. I feel like that has a lot of potential to be really fun.
I sure hope so. I really loved Cadence of Hyrule. I devoured that game. I even made a whole 40-minute video trying to place it in the official Zelda timeline. But as far as I know, that game didn't set the world on fire with regard to sales, and that might be the reason why we haven't seen anything similar since. If I had my wish, I'd love to see a Paper Zelda from the Paper Mario studio, which I think is called Intelligent Systems. That would be awesome.
I know as a fact that Nintendo is very protective of their IP, and they almost never do collaborations, so honestly, I don't think another studio take will be happening. However, if it were to somehow happen, I think something like a Zelda RPG made by Toby Fox / the Undertale team would be very cool. It would allow for lots more character dialogue and just an overall fun new experience with all the Zelda characters we know and love. Specifically, I would love to see Master Koga and Cass from Breath of the Wild as playable characters in an RPG.
I don't think they would ever take it on, because I think they like to do their own stories and stuff, but I would love to see Monolith Soft the creators of the Xenoblade game series, and because they have incredibly great and story-driven games, and I think that would be perfect in a Zelda game to like, which would be a complete different feeling of a Zelda game and way more RPG-like, I would suppose, and well, anyone who has played Xenoblade games knows what I'm talking about, which wouldn't really resemble a Zelda game, and but in turn would be an incredible storytelling and incredible world building, in my opinion. But I don't think they would ever want to do that, the devs themselves, because they like their own stories, which are great.
It's certainly possible. My realistic choice would be for Capcom to take another swing at a 2D Zelda game. It's been way too long since we've gotten a new original 2D Zelda, and Capcom has done a great job in the past. My super unrealistic choice would be for From Software to make a Souls-like Zelda game, but I know that is a massive, massive pipe dream.
Well, I was hoping Cadence of Hyrule would open the gates for more unique Zelda titles by indie developers, but to be honest, that hasn't really happened. So for this one, I'm going to say no, Nintendo are going to be keeping Zelda for themselves. Well, next question, what is the best thing that could happen to the Zelda franchise in 2024?
This is not the answer you're probably expecting, but I would love to see a shift in the way that the community views the Zelda series. In the past, we've had a very heavy emphasis on, hey, all of these games need to have a canon placement in the timeline, and Nintendo has to approve everything in the series and the way that we view it. But I want to see a shift in the Zelda community where we stop seeing the games as having a very strict order, and instead that there could be flexibility in our interpretations, plurality even, where all of us can believe different fan theories and all of them be valid in the eyes of the community. I would like to see us be a little bit less gatekeepery on information and lore.
If Nintendo said, just kidding, we actually are going to release DLC for Tears of the Kingdom, I would be so pumped. Or, just thinking dream scenario now, an announcement that the next big game of the franchise is miraculously going to be ready in 2025. And that Zelda will be playable. That's my best case scenario, but I have my doubts.
As for the best thing, well, I think a full-fledged remake of one of the early 2D games would be great to see, like Zelda 1, Zelda 2, the Oracle games, Minish Cap, etc. Those games have a lot of room for improvement and a lot of ways which could be made much better in, say, the Link's Awakening HD style or a brand new style like in the Link Between Worlds. I also feel like it's a bit of a missed opportunity so far that we've never seen Zelda 1 or 2 get remade, because those games are basically inaccessible to 99% of the audience due to archaic design decisions and high level of difficulty.
The best thing that could happen to the franchise this year, ooh boy. If I'm being honest, I can't think of anything. I think the franchise is in a really, really good place right now. We just had a big release. Everyone enjoyed it, except for when they didn't because of the story. But you know what? Can of worms that we're not going to open today. If I had to pick something, I'd say a teaser for the Zelda movie that kind of eases fans' worries, because I know a lot of us are concerned with a live-action direction being taken instead of an animated direction. We definitely all wanted a Studio Ghibli movie to be made instead of live action. I wanted it, you wanted it, you can't deny that everyone wanted it. But you know what? I think a live action movie could work if done right. And with Nintendo breathing down the backs of the people in charge of the movie, I think it can be done. I think maybe seeing like a teaser saying like, hey, we know that you're concerned about this direction, but we think that this is going to be special. We think that everyone's going to like it. Or it could just be like a movie that's just so bad it's good. Honestly, who cares? I think we should just go in optimistic and just try to have fun with it.
Personally, I think the best thing that could happen with Zelda this year would be an announcement to a brand new Zelda game for the new console that has a new realistic art style with high graphics, and for it to be a linear game with lots of intricate puzzles and dungeons, just like all the old classics. However, I do like the freedom that Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom give, so if they could somehow apply a free open world that also has nice linear sections to it, it could basically be the perfect Zelda game. If that were to happen, I would absolutely geek out, and I think most people would agree.
I actually think that complete ground-up remakes of the first two games would do amazing things for the franchise. Just redoing those games to be more palatable for modern players who maybe haven't gone back past the last two releases, I think would just do strides for the series as a whole. And I think they'd be really, really fun to go back and play in a new format.
Not updating Tears of the Kingdom as a glitch hunter, I would say. No, Tears of the Kingdom is in an incredible good state, and I think updating more would only show how little Nintendo cares about how much fun you could have with glitches, but that's just me and a lot of other people, but I digress. I think they're fine if they stay low. Especially like the mainline team who are like working on the mainline games. I think they're fine. Tears of the Kingdom, they did a great job, and I think staying low is not that bad of an option. Like not doing nothing, but focusing for the next games on how to focus more on storytelling and like creating a even fuller world and an even more lively world to play in.
Basically, any remake would be great, but the ultimate best thing that could happen is those Twilight Princess and Wind Waker remakes. If we don't get them, then I'll personally go over to Nintendo headquarters and force them to port them over to Switch against their own will.
The best possible thing for Zelda as a franchise would be for the Zelda movie to come out this year and be a major success, because that would be the biggest opportunity to catapult the series to the next level. I know the movie is likely a lot further away than this year, but if we are talking the best possible thing, that would have to be it.
Well, I don't think that many things are going to happen for Zelda in 2024, being given that Tears of the Kingdom dropped a couple months ago. Personally, I would love a new Zelda game by the end of 2024, but this is highly impossible. At the present time, I think the best thing that could happen is a HD remake of original Zelda games.
Well, the best thing for me would be a combination of a remake plus a trailer for the movie that makes me actually go, wow, actually, it won't be that bad after all. Now, I've got plenty of fear for that Zelda movie, but I definitely would be happy to be proved wrong. Well, next question, what is the wildest surprise Nintendo could pull on us related to The Legend of Zelda in 2024?
Now, the wildest thing that Nintendo could do to us is give us a re-release of Link's Crossbow Training or a completely new sequel to Link's Crossbow Training. That would be awesome, and it would be a phenomenal reuse of Tears of the Kingdom's assets. That would be great. But if we want to be a little bit more realistic, then the next best thing that could happen would be the release of a full-blown top-down perspective Zelda game, because we have been waiting for a new top-down perspective Zelda game for many, many years. And the last time we've had an original top-down perspective Zelda game in its own world, not a world that we've previously been in, was Spirit Tracks. When did Spirit Tracks release? Spirit Tracks came out in 2009. Yeah, so we haven't had a original world to explore in a top-down perspective Zelda game since 2009. That's insane. So having a new top-down perspective Zelda game, that would be a wonderful surprise and would blow my mind if we saw that in 2024.
I think the wildest thing they could do would be to reboot the animated series from the 1980s, starring Chris Pratt.
To be honest, the wildest surprise would be if Nintendo released some full-fledged 3D Zelda game in 2024 or 2025. It could potentially happen, but to be honest, I see it as being very unlikely since Tears of the Kingdom wasn't too long ago. Additionally, some sort of new spin-off title, say by a new developer or in a new genre, would also be a big surprise to me. especially if it's a weird genre like a fighting game, racing game, party game, etc.
An Age of Calamity sequel or Tears of the Kingdom DLC. Okay, listen, Nintendo. I will sell my other kidney to you to make either of these happen. Look, I'm already promising to sell my first kidney to Spike Chunsoft so they can make a new Pokemon Mystery Dungeon. So technically that would be going to Game Freak, which would then be going to you, but whatever. I will give you both of my kidneys to make those three things a reality. Or just an Age... Okay, you know what? Just screw the DLC. Just give me an Age of Calamity sequel and just Pokemon Mystery Dungeon. Please. Please.
2 words. PC port. I think that's easily the biggest thing that they could do. I absolutely don't expect that it's going to happen anytime soon, but to me, that would hands down be the single biggest announcement that they could possibly make.
I think I'm in the minority here, but I'd love to see some kind of online multiplayer PvP or co-op type game on the same map as Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. If it was like other games in that genre with continuous updates and new content, I'd have to quit my job and my real life would be officially over. I doubt the current hardware could support something like this, but a boy can dream.
I think the wildest surprise they could pull on us for Zelda would be if they announced a new 2D Zelda game. I know a lot of people have been waiting on one. In fact, I'm pretty sure it's been 7 years or something since a 2D Zelda. So yeah, if they pulled that one out on us, I would be pretty surprised.
Tears of the Kingdom DLC, definitely. Yeah, because they kind of denied it, but they worded it in a way of we don't have it planned, and not they won't ever do it, which it leaves a window open. So that would be funny if they would be immediately changing gears and be actually, we're gonna do a DLC. And the other thing would be as always with Nintendo, some spin-off game funky with a funky game genre, Fortnite meets Zelda, a platform fighter like Smash Bros. Or yeah, you get the idea. Something really left field, which nobody would think about, or a Tetris game featuring Link. I don't know. Something weird.
The wildest surprise they could pull on us is 100% releasing a trailer for a new 3D Zelda game. It's a super low probability, but there's still a very, very, very small chance that could possibly happen. I doubt it will, but who knows. Another thing is releasing a DLC for Tears of the Kingdom. Even though they already said they won't do it, that would be a pretty big surprise. But the biggest surprise they could pull on us is if they ported Twilight Princess and Wind Waker to the Switch.
A new 2D Zelda coming out this year would be a massive surprise and is one of the more possible amazing things that could happen this year.
Well, I think that it would be super surprising if they dropped a new Zelda game by the end of 2024. I think no one would expect it because the last title of the series came out less than half a year ago, and it's very rare for games in general to come out just 1 year after the previous game of the series. And what makes it even more surprising is that as Nintendo announced, the new Zelda game is going to be a whole new world, so I think it's going to need more than 1 year of work. Another surprise that they could do is drop a Tears of the Kingdom DLC. I think that this would literally shock the Zelda community and fans, and definitely no one is going to expect it.
Well, I think something for the launch of the Switch 2 would be a really wild surprise. I'd imagine it would have to be a remake. While I want Zelda 1 or Zelda 2, I actually think it's going to be the Ocarina of Time. Okay, that is a rundown of what we want to see from the Zelda franchise in 2024, so huge thank you once again to Bread Pirate, CM30 from Gaming Reinvented, Linked Wolf, Suishi, Gabora, Kurtomatic, Blythe, Blubber, Kakiri Theory Game Essays, and of course, Hyrule Town as well. So make sure you go to their channels right away and subscribe and check out their awesome Zelda content very, very soon. Well, it wasn't only my fellow Zelda creators that got in touch. Also, I've had contact from you, the Triforce Times community, from what you want to see from the Zelda franchise in 2024. So I'm going to bring you those comments right now. So first of all, we've got TwixLord86. TwixLord says, I'm sure that many are hoping for Wind Waker HD and Twilight Princess on Switch, and I imagine that is the most likely possibility of returning right now, but I would totally love to see Nintendo one day remake Zelda 2 The Adventure of Link into a traditional 2D Zelda format, perhaps in combination with a Zelda 1 remake. Well, TwixLord, you are in very, very good company indeed. A lot of the fellow Zelda creators there mentioned Zelda 2 and Zelda 1 today, so I think you are onto something there. That is very, very good. Next up, we got Raphael Mora, and Raphael says, I guess I want to know if the Switch 2 is coming out and if it's going to have something Zelda early on, like the rumoured Ocarina of Time remake and the Oracle games, or even Tears of the Kingdom stuff. Well, Raphael, I think you might be right there. I have a feeling that to tide us over until the next mainline Zelda game, we're probably going to get a remake of some kind, you know, whether that's Zelda 1, Zelda 2, or Ocarina of Time. I don't really know yet, but those rumours have been swirling about Ocarina of Time. So you know what they say about smoke and fire. I reckon we might be able to see that one soon. Well, next up we got Johan Anderson 8646. Johan says, a new smaller game please. Not just a port of an existing old game, a remake of the Oracle games would be nice, but I would prefer a completely new game. Now, I've said it before and I'll say it again, I want Zelda Metroidvania. Well, that does sound very, very good indeed. I don't know if you've seen the new Prince of Persia game that's about to come out on Nintendo Switch. It looks really, really good. I think Game Informer gave it a 9.5 out of 10, and that is one of the first big releases in 2024. But a Zelda Metroidvania. So that sounds absolutely fantastic, and I would be here for it. Well, finally then, we got Douglas Easley 6596, and Douglas says, now hopefully I'd like to hear that Zelda Twilight Princess is coming to Nintendo Switch soon. And yes, indeed, I hope Twilight Princess is coming to Switch as well. Also with that Wind Waker HD version that we saw on the Wii U, I would love if both those games came to the Nintendo Switch before the end of its life cycle. You know, hopefully we're going to see that sometime this year. So we potentially have a Nintendo Direct just around the corner in February, so you never know. We could hear about Wind Waker HD and Twilight Princess HD there and then, so look forward to that. Well, if you didn't get a chance to write in, let me know in the comments down below, what do you want to see from Zelda in 2024? Well, once again, thank you to everybody who contributed today. This has been an absolutely fantastic experience. It's been really, really fun collaborating with all these other Zelda creators, and it's a bit of a different video for the channel, and I hope you have enjoyed it. So let me know down in the comments what you thought of this, and if you want to see more of it in the future, we'd love to hear from you. Well, as always, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button down below, and also hit that like button too. Really, really helps me out on the channel. But this has been a detailed look at what we want from Zelda in 2024. And thanks again, and I'll see you very soon.